What's crackalacking? It's your boy Baroshmo, just in case you did not know. So, and if you hate that intro, well, shoot, dude, it's a good intro. I don't know what to tell you. But we're back again, once again, going through the cornerback class. I'm going to give you my top 15 if you're a Bro Scout tier member. Then you get my full rankings. I got about 45, 50 prospects on there. You also get access to my full big board and to the Discord. So, it's the best way to support the channel, so go ahead and do that. It's all much appreciated, much obliged, but all support is much appreciated, much obliged. So go ahead, become a bro and subscribe. Leave that thumbs up if you enjoy the content. And, as always, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Indulge in that nice, beautiful football discourse. We're going to start at 15 here, and I got Paulsion Adebo out of Stanford. A lot of people probably a little bit higher on him just because his pro day was, wow, man, that guy, it was a great pro day. It was a good pro day. What can I say? And they're going to love the length. They're going to love the ball skills over the last 2 seasons. Keep in mind, he opted out of 2020. He has over 24 pass breakups. Yes, I won't dispute this guy. He, for a majority of his career, has been locked down. But, I mean, when you really get to the tape, why would I be... Again, 4th round, I think that's pretty high, but some would consider I'm very low on him. Well, because in 2019, man, this dude he was burnt deep multiple times. Does the name Gabriel Davis ring a bell? Yes, he doesn't handle speed well. And it really, for me, it limits him to being really just a zone or press zone corner only. So it limits what schemes he could really function out of. And then even in zone schemes, typically you want your corners to be, well, pretty good tacklers, and he just, quite frankly, he isn't. He's just not a good tackler. He has 25 missed tackles on 135 attempts. It's not great, it's not beautiful, but I will say he uses his length very well. That's why I really like him in press. It's just I don't think he's as smooth as an athlete as we saw, well, during his pro day, where he tested out, again, phenomenal. Overall, I like him as a prospect a ton. Just, I really wouldn't be willing to take this cat until maybe late day 3, or day 3, well, late 3rd round, maybe somewhere in the 4th. Then next on the list, I start my 3rd rounders, and I got Thomas Graham Jr. I think he's one of the better slot corners in this class. In terms of, I don't like how he would hold up maybe in man coverage. I think he's solid enough. He's good at really mirroring receivers. You kind of saw that at the Senior Bowl. Forgot who he was covering, because as a corner, you're a lot more exposed in those drills. But he did a good job. Wasn't really able to turn his head around, but he was able to see where the receiver was kind of putting up their hands. He was good at locating the catch point without actually having to turn around and make a play on the ball. So I like him in that aspect, in that regard. He did opt out of the 2020 season, and just for me, I don't think he really needed it. He's really a high floor, low ceiling type of prospect, but he does offer some coverage. I think diversity, like I said, he won't be a guy that turns around, makes plays on the ball when forced to play man coverage, but he does do a good job of finding the catch point despite not turning around. Lacks the high-end speed, really a slot only, kind of already covered that. I like him as a processor. That's why I kind of prefer him as a zone heavy corner. And he's just very aware of his surroundings. His forced incompletion rate, 16%. Stellar. On to number 13. We got Benjamin St Jes. I'm actually a big fan of this game. He was in my top 10 at some point in time, but I guess I've kind of cooled down. But this is a really good corner class. You're going to have a lot of these guys kind of scattered everywhere. It's just going to be impressive. But first of all, he boasts a very impressive wingspan of 80 inches. He makes it hard for you to get off the line of scrimmage. As you can see in this picture I have against, Ronnie Bell? The cat out of Michigan. Borderline face masking. I mean, it's kind of a before picture. We don't know if it ended up being a face mask. So maybe could have picked a better picture, but it was actually the best quality picture I could find. He had the highest win rate in the one-on-one drills at the Senior Bowl, which was very impressive to me. Very sure tackler. I think he comes downhill with a lot of head of steam, like very willing to lay the boom. Not exactly fast, but I think he's quick enough to get up to his top speed fairly fast. I don't think he would. I don't think he would let. He's not going to let receivers win deep. Again, it's that mentality of a corner where, hey, I don't care how fast you are. When I put my hands on you, you're only as fast as I'm willing to let you be. So I like that a lot. That's a Richard Sherman type of mindset there. Forced many incompletions during a small sample size. He actually, ironically enough that I use this picture, I believe he was a former Michigan recruit and ended up transferring to Minnesota. And quite frankly, like I would love to see if a lot of those incompletions turn into interceptions. I would like to, for me, that would be more assuring in terms of actual ball skills. That was a big thing I kind of questioned going into the 2019 season with Jeffrey Okudah. Hopefully after like 2 years, I have that name nailed. As you can tell, the confidence isn't there. But I'm a little unsure in terms of him as maybe a zone heavy guy, just because there isn't a lot of change of direction there. There are times you will see where just a couple of moves, a couple of double or triple moves kind of leaves them at a loss, but not too many, just again because this guy's very physical and I like that about him. Not the best at flipping his hips and just going, but again, plays physical, keeps his hands on you because he knows that's where he can get beat. I like him a lot as a prospect. 3rd round sounds beautiful to me. And then this one's going to be very divisive. Kelvin Joseph out of Kentucky, because a lot of people see the world in him as a prospect. I understand why, I get it, but we've only seen a very minuscule, a very small just sample of that. It was really just this year. He's a former LSU recruit. Eventually didn't get kicked off the team. He decided and opted to transfer. And it was real funny because there was a time where he was going to come back. I think he was facing a suspension. He had the choice to transfer, take the suspension, and he decided, no, I'll just transfer. And then it was like, hey, I'm going to come back. Then he was like, nah, screw it. I'm going to transfer. I like that he decided to stay in the SEC. I like that a lot. A lot of people love his athletic projection in a press man heavy scheme. He's got kind of like the athletic profile in terms of his length and such, but he only really had 25 man steps at Kentucky. They run a lot of zone there, a lot. And people will always point out, they'll always freaking point this out. He shut down Alabama. I mean, the rest of the team, not so much, but he shut down Alabama. And it's like, yes, that is his best tape on film, probably. Check out the Vandy film. Check out the Ole Miss film. He didn't handle the lane train quite well. So, again, it's very inconsistent, but this was his first time really getting quality snaps in his career. I will say he's a plus tackler. He comes downhill, again, with a head of steam. I love that term because it just makes sense, coming downhill with a head full of steam. But phenomenal prospect, but for me, he's more of a projection. He does have those good to great shutdown corner traits. But yeah, projection, more so a projection than some of the other guys I have on this list. That's why he sits here at 12 for me. And then I got Aaron Robinson out of Central Florida. I just think this dude's slot only, man. You don't see corners with 30-inch arms starting on the outside. That's just the case. If you're betting highly on this guy, it's because you're going with the exception, not the standard. Very few guys hit the exception. That's what makes it the exception. But hey, if you love him, I get why. This dude is very solid. Former Alabama recruit, but primarily played in the slot there at Central Florida because guess what? Extremely good at it. Extremely good. He's got very good short area quickness. It's legit. And he pressed well from that position. And the big step up was him as a tackler in 2020, because if you're playing in the slot, you got to hope those guys will be quality tacklers. And quite frankly, he was. Like, he was, well, in 2020 at least. Overall, this dude just primed to be a great slot receiver. I think he can man up well. He's probably one of the best pure, not pure, but best man coverage slot corners in this draft. His just understanding of route concepts, it's just prime. It's just prime. I am a bit worried maybe of his long field speed, but again, you're only as fast as I'm willing to let you be. Richard Sherman, man. Quotes to take to the grave right there. And then into my top 10. Ooh, the top 10. First off, I got Trey Brown, and no one's probably going to have him as high as I do. At least I assume. Most places I see him as billed as a 4th to 5th rounder. And I just love this dude's game. This guy came out of the Senior Bowl for me looking phenomenal. Like, there was a route, and it was a route he was beat on. That's the most important thing, because you're already coming in with the disadvantage in Senior Bowl drills, knowing these are one-on-ones. More than likely, I'm not gonna look great. I just want to look like that I can hang. But he was beat by I can't remember who. Part of me wants to say it was Des Fitzpatrick, which makes it for me less impressive. But he was beat, but he's very explosive out of his break, enough to catch up to the receiver. The ball was thrown a bit on point or behind, not really ahead of the receiver, but he was able to come up, make a play on the ball, and an interception. You don't see interceptions in these drills. I think he came up with 2 or 3 during drills, was just extremely impressive. And if you go to his tape there at Oklahoma, he has some real ball skills. 4 picks and 26 pass breakups through 3 seasons. He actually played a lot of press there, which you're not going to do it. You're not going to have him do that at the NFL at 5'9", 185, because a lot of people are going to probably peg him as a slot, but I think he can win on the outside just in a bit more off coverage, because the dude just has the quicks, man. This guy is quick out of his breaks. He's a very low back peddler. He's very quick at flipping the hips if he needs to. Win rate at the Senior Bowl, 42%. Phenomenal. This was his actual statistics. He had 5 pass breakups with 2 picks at the Senior Bowl during practices and whatnot. So, very good. Big worry, probably outside of his size, of course, is the penalties. Again, when you're that size playing press, penalties, they're probably going to be a thing. He had 17 over the last 2 seasons. And if anything, worst case scenario, he's going to be a slot receiver in this class. I love it. I think it's great value at the tail end of the 3rd round. And then on to Tay Gowan, man. He's a hot riser for a lot of people just because they don't really know him. He had to opt out of the 2020 season. Big part of that was he actually ended up getting the Rona and had to sit out, and it was like, hey, dude, I got a family. I got people that are kind of susceptible. Wow, words. Oh, words are tough, but susceptible in my family to it. So I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to opt out, which really sucks because this guy really only has 2019 as a bulk of his production. That's his sample size. Outside of that, it was community college, which, you're going to take that at a little grain of salt, man. You're going to be like, that's not that impressive. But I think he's very impressive from an athletic and physical standpoint, while some people were like, his pro day, it wasn't all that impressive. I liked, at his size, 6'1", I thought it was being above average. To me, it's like, great, that's what you want in the league. You don't have to be a 4'3" guy to hang in this league. That's just not it. But I think he displays crazy movement skills, at least going back to his 2019 tape. He did it in a variety of different coverages, much like his teammate Aaron Robinson. And it was elite. You like to see guys dominate lesser competition. And this dude shut down Semi Fehoko, while Paulson Adebo on the other side in the same game is having a hard time handling Gabriel Davis. So, hey, he's a former 2-star recruit. He actually briefly played at Miami, Ohio. And really, you're just kind of betting on some of the traits and tools and the limited sample size. But I'm willing to take that, man. I like him a lot as a prospect. At number 8, Eric Stokes, man. A lot of people are going to think he deserves to be higher. Well, mainly because he go fast. He go boom, boom, real fast. But dude's a former track star. That should have been expected. Like, for me, that it was like, oh, you got speed. Good. I kind of assumed he would. For me, a lot of it is the tape. And I got this, I'm not going to lie, I have a Georgia bias when it comes to Georgia corners because they teach their corners how to do pass interference very well in the NFL. They command their corners to be very physical, which could be a good thing. You know what? Like, more times than not, I'd rather have a guy that knows how to play physical and have him have to reel back than teach a guy who's just soft in nature to be more physical. I think it just works better the first way. But he's a very fluid athlete, immense experience in press. I think he plays the catch point pretty well, but I don't think he's hardly ever turning around and making a play on the football. Like, you could take and this is the thing, I don't think he has real ball skills, or at least he's showcased real ball skills. A lot of people will point to, well, I mean, he had 4 interceptions. How can you say that? If you go look at the quality of the interceptions, remember with this context, it's keen. 2 of them, I believe, were just miscommunications by the quarterback and receiver, and the other 2 were just overthrows. So, I mean, that doesn't display ball skills to me. And on the other end, he's often facing the number 2 wide receiver against the opposing offense. It was Tyson Campbell who was the cornerback 1 there. It was Tyson Campbell that was having to face the likes of Seth Williams, Devontae Smith, which, we'll get to Tyson Campbell. That was a rough outing. But he was facing those guys, not Eric Stokes, at least the bulk of the time. He is a bit grabby. Wasn't called for a lot, though. At Georgia, wasn't called for many penalties. So again, I don't mind the physical nature. I rather having to teach those guys to be less physical. I think it's just a bit easier that way. A bit of a curiosity thing. Doesn't really ding his status for me. Like, I kind of always had him around this range, anyway. But he did decide not to do any of the agility drills. I don't know if I just found it curious, not suspect. I was just like, that's interesting. But I mean, if you really want to connect dots, if you go back on some of his tape, he kind of has trouble with receivers that are a bit more sudden, especially at the line of scrimmage, and on their breaks. So, you can maybe say, hey, is that a agility thing? I don't really think so. I think it's just something he needs to work on. But I like the guy a ton as a prospect. Again, he go fast. He go fast indeed. And then at number 7, Ifeanyi Momahonwu out of Syracuse. Much like his brother, guess what? This dude, physical profile, athletically kind of freakish, man. Rare athlete for his size. Hopefully the NFL's learned its lesson and they won't try to move him to safety like his brother. Keep this guy at corner. I liked how he looked at the Senior Bowl because he kind of had this soft label whenever you'd go look at scouts or analysts' notes on him, it was like, he's kind of a soft brand of football. I thought he did press extremely well. I thought he was very physical during drills. So I like that, man. The length with him is elite, and it's light. I like to see a guy use that to his advantage because he doesn't have a lot of press snaps there at Syracuse on his tape. So he was very physical with the one-on-ones. I really like that. I mean, this dude has just too much upside to ignore with the length, combined with some of the explosiveness he has displayed. Yeah, for me, I think if you're looking for a fifth corner, maybe to sneak into the first round, I think Momahonwu could be it. And then I have Tyson Campbell here at 6, man. I love this dude. He's a better athlete than Eric Stokes. He may be and it's not like he's not as fast as Eric Stokes. Well, yes, Eric Stokes, track star, super fast. Campbell's not slow by any means. What he ran I think it was like a 4.39 or it was like a 4.46, somewhere along those lines. he just has the ideal physical and athletic tools for the position. Great length. He is a bit skinny being there at 6'1". I'm glad he got up to 193. He was playing weight was 185. So I like that he added weight. He could be a bit more of a sure tackler, but and that could be something of a concern at his considering he was kind of very thin there at Georgia, but it wasn't like terrible. He was always at the catch point. Again, no ball production really to speak of, but this dude's always getting his head around and trying to make plays on the football. He just needs to be better at actually making plays there at the point of at the catch point. I would say he's more reactionary than actually proactive. So you go to that Devontae Smith tape, man. It wasn't pretty. That literally made up like all of the yards he gave up in 2020. He was constantly biting on double moves against Smith. So that's something you really gotta like teach out of him, coach out of him. And again, you have the Georgia Warriors where he's handsy. That ain't gonna fly in the NFL, man. You're gonna catch a charge for that. But again, almost half of that production that he did gave up came against Alabama. But guess what? Who really had a good game last season against Alabama? I know you're going to say Kelvin Joseph, but the rest of Kentucky didn't hang so well. But I like Campbell a lot, man. He's up there in the mix. I think he could sneak into the first round as well. And then I have a Santiago Samuel Jr. out of Florida State, and I find myself kind of being a hypocrite when it comes to Santiago Samuel because I love this cat so much. I think he can play on the outside, but he falls into that exception of, okay, is my exception in terms of his arm length? It's at 30 inches, man. And I've said you don't see corners play on the outside with 30-inch arms. Would I consider him the exception? I really think he can because his athleticism, it's just elite. Change of direction, holy moly, it's special. He has the ball skills, too, to back it up throughout his career. 4 interceptions, 23 pass breakups. And yes, if you're asking, yes, he's Asante Samuel's son. They're not the same player, though, by any means. I would say his dad was a lot more physical than his son. Like, his son's a willing participant in the run game, but by no means is he, I think, very efficient, very effective. It's a good thing we're looking for coverage when it comes to these guys. But, yeah, dude, I'm just a big fan. I'm willing to bet with his type of just ability, his type of athleticism, that he can stick out there. Like, he can stick on the outside. So maybe not in a press-heavy scheme, maybe more off coverage. But, yeah, man, I'm a big fan. After this, all my guys are first-rounders. No surprise, only 4 guys left. It's the usual suspect, the 4 guys that you're going to see on everyone's list. And then I have Greg Newsome here out of Northwestern, another guy that actually played a ton of off-ball in a very zone-heavy scheme there at Northwestern. But you love the acceleration, you love the quick feet, the movement skills. He's very good at having to come downhill and make a play. Just good length. He's always there at the catch point. But like, we have to nitpick these guys if we're going to separate them. He didn't face any top tier receivers this past year. He got hurt early in the Ohio State game. Really the one game where it was like, oh man, facing top competition, because Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, they're going to be first rounders next year for all intents and purposes. So I really wish we got to see him through that game. And the lack of press snaps there makes him a pure projection if you're going to bring him in a press-heavy scheme. So that'll be a bit interesting. So yeah, there's that. But outside of that, phenomenal prospect. Like, he's got all these traits, and you saw elite production this year. And I'm happy that he did it again in a big conference. It's not like, oh, he missed his one chance against Ohio State. It's just, I really wish we could have saw him against kind of the cream of the crop. And then I got Caleb Farley, man. I'd be willing to still put him higher if not for the concerns with the back. But he got I wouldn't say a clear bill of medical health, but good enough for me that I'm still willing to take a shot on him in like the second half of the first round, because for a lot of people, he was like the consensus number one corner in this class. He had elite production 2019, decided to opt out 2020. And he just has these ideal the press man build, the length, the speed, just the skill set for it. This is stuff. These are traits that get guys drafted in the top 10 at the corner position. CJ Henderson, prime example of it last year. Again, it's just the back issues are kind of a concern. But and a few actually injuries, man. He had back spasms at the end of 2019 that cost him. He had the ACL in 2017. So there are stuff that are concerns, but his makeup and closing speed are just high end. He's a pure projection in terms of being in a press scheme. He only has 58 press snaps to his name. Played really in a zone-heavy scheme there at Virginia Tech. But again, traitsy, dude. He's traitsy. I'd be like, if I'm there at Arizona, no Horn on the board, I'm willing to take a shot at Caleb Farley. I like him a lot. Speaking of Horn, I got Jaycee Horn here at number 2. So we all know who number 1 is because he's actually right there on the overlay. But Jaycee Horn, man, freaky pro day, ideal press man build and skill set. He's very physical at the line of scrimmage and at the catch point. He does a good job of locating the ball at the catch point. I just wanted to see more ball skill plays from him. And a lot of people will be like, well, look at the game. What was it, against Auburn? That was the only game he had an interception or a pass breakup. He had 2 interceptions and 5 pass breakups in that game. That's all he had for the whole season. Keep in mind, though, very shut down. A lot of people opted not to even throw his way. If you ask me, that's a bit more valuable than the ball skill thing. So just throwing. There were penalties here and there in 2020. I'm not going to mind that too much. He is, for me, a bit of a diamond in the rough. But again, the testing was elite. These are guys you take a shot on. Like Jeffrey Okuda, or Jeffrey O. There we go. He had an abysmal 2019. Who won when your first 2 games are against D-Hop and Devontae Adams? You're facing like 2 of the top, 3 or 5 receivers in the league as your opening games. Yeah, it's going to be rough. He also dealt with injury much of the year. I expect him to have a huge season in year 2. But with Horn, you're just going to have to keep that in mind. I really like him to teams like the Patriots, like the Cardinals. I just don't know if he'll make it there. And then Patrick Surtain. Yes, another guy with a daddy who was very famous. But I love Patrick Surtain. I'm a big Dolphins fan, so hey, call me a mark. But he's one of the best technicians in this class. Great length. He played a little bit of slot, and you wouldn't think he'd be good at slot. Outside of the pro day, that kind of quelled a lot of concerns. A lot of concerns were his speed, his agility, but he's got really good lateral movement. Like, he was elite in the slot. He has 3 seasons of elite production in the SEC. So big. A lot of people were going to be concerned about how will his speed, because that was, again, the concern. Will that translate to the NFL? Will he struggle? And we saw a guy last year, not very similar in terms of talent, but a guy that I pegged as a second rounder, Cameron Dantzler out of Mississippi State, who had 3 years of elite production against the SEC. Goes to the combine. Length, a little underwhelming. Speed, a bit of underwhelming. And then he comes out and has probably one of the better rookie corner years last season. So yeah, screw that, dude. Surtain, give me the production all day. But yeah, he probably played more press snaps than anyone else in this class. He also has a lot of off snap. Alabama, they're very diverse in how they run. They run a lot cover 2 and cover 4, but they will ask their corners to get up and get nitty gritty, get up into the grill of some of those receivers. And again, people question the speed, but he is actually one of the better deep ball defenders throughout his whole career. And speed, no longer a concern. No longer a concern. Man's testing was phenomenal. Phenomenal. Like, I don't think a team will have a problem taking him inside the top 10 anymore. So, yeah, I love Patrick Surtain, man. He's going to make his daddy proud. But, yeah, that's it for the video. If you're a Bro Scout tier member, hey, we got more where that came from. But if not, then it is what it is. It's A-okay. Just go ahead, give the video a thumbs up. And until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.